College football, week 8 predictions. Penn State versus Ohio State. We've been waiting all off season for this damn game. All right. Drew Aller, this is your time, fam, to show everybody why you were the number one quarterback prospect coming out of your recruiting class. James Franklin, I feel like the one thing that he's missing, or he has missed, that Michigan and Ohio State have had, is his guy at quarterback. You know, Ohio State has had some really good quarterbacks come through there. CJ Stroud, Justin Fields, Kyle McCord. I don't think he's better than Drew Aller. So I give Penn State the quarterback advantage in this game. Their offensive line is really good. Alu Fashanu, their star left tackle, hasn't given up a single sack all this year, and he's only given up like 1 or 2 pressures throughout all his years starting for Penn State. Now, last time Ohio State played Penn State, we saw JTT absolutely take over this game. Are we going to see another performance where somebody on that Ohio State defensive line takes over? I don't know. Like, I think Penn State's offensive line is pretty legit. I definitely think that they're going to be better for this game, or they're going to be able to handle that defensive line of Ohio State a lot better than what they did last year. And Penn State has a really good defense. Like, Ohio State's offense has not been that great. Kyle McCord is definitely the worst quarterback that Ohio State has had in the last couple of years. And this is a school that has had some really great quarterbacks come through there, like Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, and recently CJ Stroud. I definitely think that there's a significant drop-off with those quarterbacks compared to Kyle McCord. Now, that's not me saying that Kyle McCord sucks. It's just me saying that I don't think Kyle McCord is all that great. And a large reason why Ohio State has been able to get the most out of Penn State or get the better of them is because they've had better quarterback play. Like, Trace McSorley started out slow in this game in the first half last year. He picked it up in the second half. I don't think they're going to have that same issue this year. And they are playing this game on the road. And both of these two teams have really good defenses. I'm going to take Penn State. Okay, I know you don't really see a lot of upsets occurring on the road like that, but I think that the gap between these two teams is pretty much within even. All right, I think that the fact that for the first time in a while, Ohio State not going into this game with the obvious quarterback advantage gives Penn State a chance. And Penn State has a fantastic backfield. Katron Allen is a really good running back. They also got another really good running back behind them. You wonder how the receivers are going to perform in this game. But overall, I'm going to take Penn State. I think Drew Aller makes the difference. Obviously, I'm taking Oklahoma over the Gus Bus. Really disappointed with how Gus Malzahn's tenure at UCF has been. I know this is their first year in the Big 12, but I just kind of expected them to be a little bit more potent offensively. I'm taking Air Force to beat Navy. Air Force is one of the best Group of 5 schools out there right now, and they probably are well on their way to having a 10-win season. Obviously, we're taking Oregon at home at Autzen Stadium. Washington State, they've went cold the last couple of weeks. Like Cam Ward, I don't know what the hell has happened to that dude, but he just went from, dark horse Heisman contender to now looking not so hot. I think Oregon, they're going to be super motivated coming off that 3-point loss to Washington, and their defense is really good. All right, like, let's not get it twisted. Even though Washington had their way with that defense, Washington State's offense is nothing compared to Washington's offense. So I think that Oregon should win this game pretty convincingly. Tennessee against Alabama. I'm taking Alabama. All right, they're playing this game at home this year. Tennessee beat Alabama last year because I felt like the home field advantage is what helped them get the win. Alabama, we know their offense is inconsistent. Alabama this season, if you're a fan of the Crimson Tide, you're pretty much crossing your fingers that you can get the 24, 27 points. And if you can reach 24, 27 points in this game, you feel pretty good about your chances. Because even though your offense has struggled, your offensive line hasn't been great, you still have the ability to generate big plays downfield. Jalen Milroe, anytime he takes a shot downfield, he's pretty streaky with his deep ball accuracy, but he does have the ability to hit those big money balls downfield. And Alabama's starting to have some receivers that are now starting to come along and emerge. Like Jermaine Burton has been a really good addition for Alabama. They picked him up in the transfer portal last year. He had a really disappointing 2022 campaign, but he's been a monster this year for the Tide. Tennessee, you think their offense would be great at generating explosive plays based on what they did last year. But this offense hasn't looked the same. As a matter of fact, it's been the polar opposite. Like, this offense has been fairly disappointing. Joe Milton, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been great. And, you can't bench him for Nico Imaviava because he hasn't played bad enough for you to bench him. But going up against this Alabama defense, I don't know, Jay, if, my guy Jalen Milroe is going to end up getting outplayed by Joe Milton. Like, Joe Milton, he's been a hit or miss. He hasn't been terrible, but at the same time, he hasn't been great. But this definitely could be a game where Joe Milton could rise to the occasion. He definitely has the talent to do so. And Alabama secondary has given up a good amount of big plays here and there at times. But I'm going with the Tide to win. Tennessee's defense is good enough to keep them in this game. This probably will be a low-scoring affair, but I trust Alabama's defense a little bit more than I trust Tennessee, and plus, they're playing at home, and regardless of how you feel about Alabama, not too many teams are able to come away with wins on the road in Tuscaloosa. Like, if you beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, you're a damn good football team. Missouri versus South Carolina. We got the Beamer boys, and you always know that you can't count out the Beamer boys, all right? And they're going on the road to take on Missouri, and this is pretty much do or die mode for South Carolina. Like, a loss here makes their chances of becoming bowl eligible really difficult. Now, the good thing is that South Carolina doesn't really have to worry about defense too much because Missouri's defense isn't really great neither. But they are capable of being able to get stops, and their offense is really good. South Carolina, they pretty much have been the Spencer Rattler show pretty much. And they do have a really good running back. They got some really good receivers. So they can hang around with Missouri. Like, this is a game that can go either way. I'm going to take Missouri to get the win, though. I think Missouri should be able to pull it out. Even though I don't have a lot of confidence that they can win this game, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if South Carolina pulled off the upset. And I probably am going to have this on my upset watch list when it comes out tomorrow. I'm taking Tulane over North Texas. North Texas, haven't seen too much of them, but I do know that there's no way in hell they're going to be able to beat Tulane. Tulane just has way too much offensively, and I like Iowa over Minnesota. I know Iowa is boring as hell to watch because they got zero offense. They're all defense and special teams, but Minnesota's offense is worse. They got no quarterback. The receivers can't separate, and the offensive line isn't good. Give me Iowa over Minnesota. Texas is going on the road to take on Houston. I'm taking the Longhorns to bounce back. I like UNC over Virginia. UNC has been on the warpath as of late, and I apologize to North Carolina. I've shitted on y'all all off season. I called y'all overrated, and I didn't think y'all was going to be bad. Like, I had y'all in my top 25. I felt y'all be a 8-win team, maybe a 9-win team potentially, but this is a team that potentially could win the ACC championship. With the way Drake May is playing and the way Gene Chizik has those boys on defense playing, like, North Carolina is a football school, at least for this season. Now, we got Ole Miss taking on Auburn. I said earlier I like Auburn to cover, but I like Ole Miss to win outright. I just think that Ole Miss should be able to execute in the bigger moments of this game. I'm taking Michigan over Michigan State. Like, Michigan State doesn't have a real head coach, and with them not having a real head coach, I just think that in the game against Michigan and the rivalry matchup, that's really going to hurt them, and Michigan should gouge these boys, and this game probably could be over by the time we get to halftime with the way Michigan has played. We got Duke and FSU. I'm taking FSU with the win. Duke, they're going to be able to hang around. I definitely think that Duke will cover. They're well coached. They don't beat themselves. They got a really good defense. I think that this possibly could be the second best team that FSU has played up to this point. Because remember, Duke trounced Clemson week 1. So we already know Duke is a better team than Clemson, and they came really close to beating Notre Dame. So this is a team that is more than capable of being able to hang around with FSU. And it's not like FSU has looked super dominant. Outside of their dominated win against Syracuse, they got a tendency to play with their food a little bit. So although that -14 looks really appealing, I like Duke with how great that defense is and the fact that they're well coached. They don't really commit a lot of costly turnovers or penalties. So give me FSU with the win, but I'll take Duke to cover. Obviously, LSU should beat Navy or Army. I think this is Army. Barring a catastrophic disaster, LSU should get it done. We got Utah taking on USC. I know a lot of people are kind of low on USC now with them getting exposed by Notre Dame, but you got to remember that was a really tricky game for USC. Like, they struggle historically in South Bend. Like, they haven't beaten Notre Dame and South Bend since 2011, if my memory serves me correctly. And what makes me confident taking USC to win this game is that, yeah, you may not be high on USC's defense, but Utah's quarterback play isn't good enough to take advantage of a questionable defense. Like, their quarterbacks have been awful. They can't really get a lot of consistency in the passing game, and they kind of have to just find ways to win. Now, this defense is legit. Like, Utah's defense is one of the best in all of college football, but even if you got a great defense, you still got to be able to put up points, and I don't think that Utah's defense is going to be able to keep USC's offense down enough for them to be able to win this game. Like, regardless if Utah's defense shows up, you at least need to be able to score 24 points in this game. And I don't think that Utah's offense is capable of being able to do that. And lastly, I'm easily taking Washington at home against Arizona State. Washington, I picked them to win the Pac-12 before the season began, and it looks like that was one of the best predictions that I've made all off season. So this is it for my college football Week 8 predictions. Let me know your predictions and your picks down in the comment section down below.